The rain hammered against the tin roof like 1,000 restless fingers, drowning out the quiet hum of the old heater in Ethan Cole's modest home. He had just finished washing the last plate when a faint, hesitant knock came at the front door. Ethan frowned. It was nearly 10 p.m., and no one ever visited at this hour. Wiping his hands on a towel, he opened the door to find a small, trembling figure standing on the porch. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 years old, her cardigan soaked through, her pale dress clinging to her knees, and her hair plastered against her cheeks. Her big brown eyes glistened, not just from the rain, but from fear. I'm lost," she stammered, her voice barely audible over the storm. Without a second thought, Ethan stepped aside and ushered her in, grabbing an old towel from the hallway to wrap around her tiny shoulders. "It's all right, you're safe now," he said gently, his voice carrying the steady reassurance of a man who had been both a father and a protector for years. Noah, his 8-year-old son, peeked from the living room, curiosity lighting his face at the sight of the little stranger. She said her name was Lily, but when Ethan asked for her last name or address, she shook her head, either unable or unwilling to recall. She explained in halting words that she had been at the park with her nanny, had wandered too far chasing a stray cat, and then gotten caught in the storm. Ethan listened, noting her polished manners and careful way of speaking, unusual for someone her age, but brushed it aside. She was cold, wet, and frightened, and that was all that mattered for now. He poured her a mug of hot chocolate, the steam curling into the air, and set a blanket on the couch for her to sleep on. At first, Lily hesitated, as if unused to accepting help from strangers, but eventually, she smiled faintly and murmured, "Thank you." As she drifted off to sleep, the storm outside began to fade, but in Ethan's mind, questions swirled. Who was she really? Why did she seem so different? He had no idea that at that very moment, in a mansion miles away, a desperate mother, one of the wealthiest women in the country, was turning the world upside down to find her missing daughter. By the time the morning sun broke through the clouds, the storm had passed, leaving the streets outside glistening and quiet. Inside Ethan's home, the warmth of the heater and the faint smell of pancakes filled the air. Ethan had been up early, moving quietly so as not to wake the little girl curled on the couch. He found her still fast asleep, her face relaxed, a small hand clutching the blanket he'd given her. What surprised him was Noah, who had abandoned his own bed and was sleeping on the rug beside her, as if keeping guard. When Lily finally stirred, she blinked up at Ethan with a cautious smile. Over breakfast, she began to open up, though her words were careful and deliberate. She told them she loved horses, hated big parties, and once had a rabbit she'd named Marshmallow, though she quickly changed the subject before revealing more. Noah was instantly captivated by her stories, eagerly offering to show her his toy train set. Soon, laughter bounced off the walls, a sound Ethan hadn't heard in his house for a long time. Still, he knew he had to take the next step. He tried calling the local police station, but the lines were jammed, likely from storm-related emergencies. He decided he'd drive her there later in the day. In the meantime, Lily explored their home, running her fingers along the wooden picture frames, tracing the worn armrest of the couch, and asking curious questions like, "You make pancakes every morning?" Ethan chuckled. "Only when we have special guests." When Noah dozed off for an afternoon nap, Lily quietly joined Ethan in folding laundry, her small hands working with surprising care. She asked about his work, and he told her about the garage where he fixed cars, often taking side jobs just to keep things going. She listened intently, her expression unreadable. Ethan still sensed there was more to her story, but she didn't seem ready to share it. As evening approached, he grabbed his keys to take her into town, but as they stepped outside, a sleek black car rolled slowly past his house. Its tinted windows lowered slightly, and Ethan caught the watchful eyes of someone scanning the property before it sped off into the distance. A strange unease settled in his chest. Whoever Lily was, it was becoming clear she was important to someone, and maybe not just in the way a parent worries for a child. The following morning was calm, but Ethan's nerves were not. The image of that black car from the night before lingered in his mind, and though he told himself it was probably nothing, a deep instinct urged him to be cautious. He was tightening a hinge on the back door when a series of sharp, urgent knocks rattled the front. Wiping his hands on a rag, he opened the door to find two tall men in dark suits, their posture rigid, earpieces glinting in the morning light. Standing between them was a woman unlike anyone Ethan had ever seen in person, elegant, poised, and radiating an authority that seemed to silence the very air around her. Her dark hair was perfectly styled, her tailored coat untouched by the morning chill. "Mr. Cole?" she asked, her voice calm but edged with urgency. "We're looking for a young girl. Her name is Lily Harrington." The name struck something in Ethan's memory, but before he could respond, a small voice behind him cried out, "Mom!" Lily darted past him and into the woman's arms. Ethan stood frozen as the woman dropped to her knees, holding Lily so tightly it was as though she feared she might vanish again. The men in suits relaxed slightly, but their eyes still scanned the surroundings like hawks. Ethan's gaze shifted between them, his mind catching up to the reality before him. Lily's mother was Isabella Harrington, the billionaire business mogul whose face appeared regularly on the news and magazine covers. He remembered hearing her name in connection with high-profile investments, charity galas, and now, apparently, a missing child. Isabella looked up at him, her eyes glassy with gratitude. "You sheltered my daughter," she said softly, but with a weight that made the words feel monumental. "You have no idea what that means to me." Ethan stammered that it was nothing, that any decent person would have done the same, but she shook her head. "It's not nothing. In this world, kindness is rare." The security team began guiding Lily toward the waiting luxury SUV, but the girl suddenly turned back, running to grab Ethan's hand. "Thank you for being my friend," she whispered. He felt an unexpected ache in his chest as she let go. Before leaving, Isabella handed him a sleek business card. "Call me," she said firmly. "Anything you need, ever, it's yours." And then they were gone, leaving Ethan standing in his doorway, staring at the empty street, the echo of Lily's small voice lingering in his ears. 2 weeks passed, and though life in Ethan's small home returned to its familiar rhythm of school runs, long shifts at the garage, and quiet dinners with Noah, something felt undeniably different. The house seemed quieter, and even Noah, usually a bundle of energy, asked almost every day if Lily might visit. Ethan found himself thinking about her too, remembering the way she'd laughed over pancakes or carefully folded laundry like it was the most important job in the world. He'd kept Isabella Harrington's business card tucked in the top drawer of his nightstand, but pride and a lifetime of self-reliance kept him from calling. On a crisp Saturday morning, just as he was fixing a leaky faucet, a knock came at the door. He opened it to find Lily beaming up at him, her hair neatly tied with a ribbon, and behind her stood Isabella, dressed simply but still carrying that aura of quiet power. "I told Mom we had to visit," Lily announced, slipping past him into the house as if she'd never left. Isabella smiled warmly. "She hasn't stopped talking about you and Noah. And I wanted to keep my promise." She handed Ethan a thick envelope. Inside was not cash, but an official offer letter, a full-time position at one of her company's automotive divisions, complete with a salary and benefits that far exceeded anything he'd ever earned. Ethan blinked in disbelief. "I can't accept this," he began, but Isabella raised a hand. "You gave without hesitation. You didn't ask who she was, or what you could get in return. Let me do the same for you." Outside, Noah had joined Lily in the yard, their laughter carrying on the breeze as they chased each other through the fallen leaves. Isabella watched them for a moment before turning back to Ethan. "Some people think the world is cold, Mr. Cole, but I believe moments like these prove otherwise. You opened your door to my child. That's not something I'll ever forget." Ethan felt the weight of her words settle deep inside him, and for the first time in years, he allowed himself to think that maybe life had more to offer than just getting by. As Lily and Noah ran up to show them a leaf fort they'd built, Ethan realized that the rainy night which had brought a lost little girl to his door had also brought something else, a friendship, a chance, and perhaps the start of a better future for them all.